Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. On our 5th wedding anniversary, I presented the divorce papers to Noah Song as a gift. Noah, let's get a divorce. We can't go on like this. After 13 years of love, he couldn't understand why I suddenly asked for a divorce. He tried to persuade me with red eyes and said he would pursue me again during the 30-day cooling-off period. I accompanied him in a series of acts to win me back, and he thought I was finally moved. Little did he know late-arriving feelings are cheaper than grass. Chapter 1. Noah looked at the 5th anniversary gift in front of him, his eyes turning red. With a choked voice he asked, "Can I know why I opened my mouth?" but fearing I would sound like a complaining wife as before, I just shook my head. "There's a 30-day cooling-off period for divorce. Let's both calm down." Seeing that he was about to cry, I casually took 2 tissues and handed them over. Noah looked up at the tissues, childishly refusing to reach out. I took a deep breath, placed the tissues beside him, and turned to go into the room. Noah and I started dating in high school and got married after graduating from college. We've been in love for 13 years, a model of love in everyone's eyes. 13 years of deep love and fierce quarrels. But we never mentioned separation. I know it's not that I don't love him anymore. In these 13 years, Noah has become ingrained in my very being, an inseparable part. But having seen how Noah once treasured me, how could I not notice the stark change in his attitude in our marriage? I didn't know if continuing would lead us from love to hate. Born timid and sensitive, I couldn't afford such an ending. The next day, Noah and I went to register for a divorce. Before getting in the car, Noah grabbed me. "Can you give me another chance? Please don't move out during these 30 days. Silently, I withdrew my hand and looked into Noah's eyes. Every time Noah pleaded, his eyes were sincere. I remember every time we fought in college, Noah would look at me with this same sincerity to apologize. Every time I forgave him. Okay, this time seemed the same yet different. I knew that in these 30 days Noah would do everything he could to win me back. I couldn't say I wasn't looking forward to it. I was actually very much looking forward to it. What kind of answer would those eternally youthful men present when their marriage was on the brink of collapse? Chapter 2. On the first day, Noah and I went out together as usual. Since I brought up the divorce, I felt a great sense of relief. I no longer needed to worry about the man in front of me being late for work or prepare breakfast for him half an hour early. "What do you want to eat?" Noah asked me as we stood in front of the breakfast stand, sunlight shining on the tip of his nose. Just like in our school days, he would smile every day while waiting for me at the school gate. In winter, he would thoughtfully prepare hot soy milk and buns. In summer, I could always drink the iced soy milk sold across the street from the school. Such scenes I never saw again in the days that followed. Noah even forgot to ask me, "Do you want anything?" when ordering milk tea. He would order for himself, then look down at his phone and walk to a seat, leaving me in line behind him. Sometimes it felt like we were strangers who just happened to be in the same milk tea shop. I stepped past Noah and said to the vendor, "A serving of rice noodles to go." "I don't have time, I need to go." "Oh, by the way, I'm having dinner with Hetty tonight, don't wait for me." The phrase "don't wait for me" was a joke. Since we got married, Noah had never waited for me. If I got home late, I would only see half-eaten leftovers in the takeout box. Although I didn't have much expectation for this, one can't expect someone to go hungry waiting. But back then, while walking by the West Lake, Noah would put his arm around my shoulder, kiss me, and make me laugh, saying, "Sana, we're going to have our own home soon. We'll cook and eat together. If you get off work late, I'll definitely make dinner and wait for you to come home to eat." At that time, I believed him. Later, when I no longer believed, I didn't really blame him. But why do promises that can't be kept always turn into sweet talk that leaves lingering thoughts? Suddenly my hand was grabbed, and Noah looked at me with a face full of grievance. "I'm really going to be late. I don't understand, why have you suddenly changed?" So it was me who had changed. I found it laughable yet couldn't explain. "Stop it, I'll be late for work. Do you have someone else?" At that moment the world fell silent. I knew Noah had long wanted to ask this question. During the time we were preparing for the divorce, we hardly shared a bed. His voice carried a hint of pain and his lowered head made him look pitiful. "No, Noah, you know. Besides you, I've never loved anyone else." Chapter 3. I turned away and got into a cab while Noah stood there in shock. After dinner, Hetty and I had just stepped out of the restaurant when I saw Noah's car. Noah got out and waved at me from across the street. He was wearing the gray coat I gave him last year with a white scarf covering the lower half of his face, revealing his handsome eyes. For a moment it felt like I was back in college, and he was standing under my dormitory bringing me the first milk tea of winter. Crossing the traffic, Noah jogged up to me. His cheeks and nose tip were slightly red and the tear mole on his nose looked like it was stained with blood. His dark eyes had a hint of mist and his dimples appeared faintly at the corners of his mouth. He took my hand and spoke playfully. "I knew you'd be here. This restaurant was one I had been talking about wanting to try 2 months ago. But Noah was busy on a business trip at that time and later he forgot when he had free time. I never mentioned it again so he forgot completely. Now he remembered." Noah smiled and greeted Hetty who tactfully left. I let Noah hold my hand, his hand not particularly warm. Most of the time I was the one keeping his hands warm. But I really loved the coolness of his hands. Watching the man ahead of me, my nose tingled with a bit of sourness. In the car I looked at Hetty's message on my phone advising me to reconsider and sighed deeply. Being misunderstood is the fate of people. What Hetty didn't know was that this was the only time in 2 years that Noah had come to pick me up. Even if I got a little tipsy at a dinner party, Noah would only arrange a reliable cab for me. But who can't call a cab? What I wanted was just care, but Noah was busy at home playing video games. Chapter 4. The next day Noah got up early. I woke up to see a table full of breakfast, finding it both amusing and bewildering. Noah stood by the table scratching the back of his head. "I didn't know what you wanted to eat, so I bought a bit of everything." I nodded and thanked him. On the third day Noah sent me a WeChat message. "Wife, let's do that thing where we hold each other while leaving the house." He attached a short video and a cute emoji. I had seen this video before. It was quite popular at the time. It was about a couple on the verge of divorce. The female lead suggested that the male lead carry her out every day as a condition, and after completing these routines they reconciled in the end. I had fantasized about this scenario countless times. I even sent Noah this video before, but it was like a stone sinking into the sea with no response. Okay. Chapter 5. On the fourth day Noah got up early again. He rummaged through the wardrobe, making quite a commotion. I stood at the door of the wardrobe for a long time. "What are you looking for?" Noah was almost buried in the pile of clothes and turned his head. "I'm looking for the gray sweatshirt you made for me in college." My heart skipped a beat. That shirt had pilled, so I threw it away. Noah turned his head, his tone filled with confusion and a hint of reproach. "Just find something else to wear." With that I turned and walked away without looking back. I majored in fashion design in college, and that shirt was something I designed for him during my internship. I remember how Noah treasured it, wearing it for days on end until he finally sent it to the dry cleaners. He said he would keep that shirt forever and take it with him when he died. When I finished getting ready to leave, Noah was already standing at the door waiting. He was dressed meticulously like a worker awaiting an inspection from the boss. I couldn't help but laugh. "Come on." Noah wrapped his arms around me and effortlessly lifted me. He looked puzzled. "Why are you so light?" "I've been dieting lately." We were very close, and to avoid unnecessary eye contact I buried my head in Noah's chest. "Why did you throw away that shirt?" Noah asked, his voice strong despite barely using any effort to hold me. I took a deep breath and looked up at him. "Noah, that shirt is important." "But what's more important, the shirt or the person?" I hadn't thrown the shirt away, of course I wouldn't. Noah treasured that shirt and kept it at the bottom of the box. But what about the person who gave him the shirt? I was right beside him, yet he could ignore me even when my presence filled the entire room. Men's deep feelings are often hidden in corners that many women don't see. But most women want what's in front of them, don't they? Chapter 6. From the 5th day to the 10th day nothing happened. Noah continued to carry me downstairs as usual. Our upstairs neighbor smiled and greeted us. "Young people really have such strong feelings, always so affectionate." I smiled back, watching the neighbor walk away, wondering what life would be like after the divorce, a life without Noah. I knew I was sensitive and fragile. Many times people don't want to end a relationship not because they can't let go of love, but because they fear the emptiness that comes with the change in their original life. That empty part would become the source of countless fears in the middle of the night. Without Noah, whose name could I call in the middle of the night? When I was scared, I looked up at Noah. Recently he must not have been sleeping well. There were dark circles under his eyes and his stubble was unkempt. Perhaps my sudden mention of divorce had thrown him into a panic. "Noah, let's have dinner together tonight." Noah smiled at me, his eyes shining like stars. For a moment I felt like we were back in those moments of youthful love. We arranged to have dinner near our university in a rundown street. After getting married we rarely came back to eat here. We ordered our food and sat in our familiar spot. Noah carefully wiped the table for me and handed over the milk tea with the straw inserted. Feels like being back in college. I smiled as I took it. This might have been my first smile in days. Yeah, Noah nodded. Sana, I know I may have neglected you after we got married, but I can really change. Noah's eyes were full of sincerity, as if he truly understood his mistakes in our marriage. I shook my head. Noah, you don't have to apologize to me. After 13 years together, I know what kind of person you are. We just can't continue this path of marriage together. Not wanting to say too much, I changed the topic timely. Noah, do you remember the bravest thing you ever did, standing up to my mom and insisting on marrying you? Does that count? It counts. I nodded with a smile, looking at the lean meatball in my hand. This lean meatball doesn't taste the same as it did in college. Things change, especially people. But some people never change, like Noah's mother, who has always been strict with me. On the 11th day, Noah's mother came. Chapter 7. Noah's mother is the director of the middle school, looking strict and meticulous. She has a strong desire to control Noah. When we graduated from college, Noah's mother didn't agree to our marriage. Noah, who had never gone against his mother's wishes, had his first argument with his parents because of me. At that time he said, "I'm determined to marry you." He also said, "In this life you're the only one for me." God knows how touched I was back then. I was so moved that I overlooked the rebellious nature in this man's character. Some people and some things become more uncontrollable the more you try to restrain them. Later I realized that Noah's courage at that time was partly driven by a desire to challenge his mother's authority. There was some sincerity, but not much. After marriage, Noah never defended me in front of his mother. His reason was, "I've already gone against her once. Let's just go along with her for the rest." So I learned my lesson. Just like now, when Mrs. Song brought up old issues at the dinner table, I told you two were incompatible from the start. Look, you've been married for so many years and still don't have a child. The familiar pressure to have children gave me a headache. I didn't want to argue. I wanted to leave a beautiful ending for both of us. Mom, it's me who doesn't want to have children. Noah's soft-spoken words made the living room fall into a deathly silence. I looked at Noah, feeling a storm brewing inside. I couldn't hold it in. I stood up abruptly. The sound of the chair legs scraping against the tiles was jarring, making everyone uncomfortable. "Sorry, I've had enough." Suddenly I wanted to cry just because Noah spoke up for me. He knew. He knew all along the enormous psychological pressure his mother put on me. But how did he manage to stay silent all these years? He watched me change from confident to timid under his mother's belittling. I couldn't help but wonder, how much could Noah really love me? Stop right there. Mrs. Song's voice held a clear note of displeasure. For a moment I couldn't move. Those teachings ingrained in my blood made it impossible for me to disobey. Chapter 8. I am not cowardly, it's just that for Noah and our home I have never contradicted Mrs. Song since we got married. I didn't want to put Noah in a difficult position. But even with such intentions, all I got in return was Noah's inaction. "I think your son made it very clear it's him." I glanced at Noah, who looked so troubled. "It's him who doesn't want children." I looked straight into Mrs. Song's eyes without my usual evasion. Mrs. Song was stunned for a moment by my firm tone. By the time she reacted, I had already walked into the bedroom. "Noah, look at the kind of woman you married. I've said all along she's too headstrong and not suitable for you, but you didn't listen." Mrs. Song, having nowhere to vent her anger, turned to scold her son. I closed the door, shutting out the outside world. In that instant it felt like I released all my emotions. Grievance, unwillingness, even a hint of pain. I slumped to the floor, tears streaming down my face. Whether these tears were for Noah or for myself I could no longer tell. I only knew that some things seemed to have no turning back. On the 12th day everything was as usual. Except that I spoke even less. I didn't ask Noah about his conversation with his mother yesterday, as if it never happened. On the 13th day I returned that gray sweatshirt to Noah. Noah looked at the note attached to the sweatshirt, his eyes read. "Take care of yourself." Writing these 4 words was painful for me. I knew it was even more painful for Noah. But we had reached this crossroads and I could no longer help myself. I had to give my all to save myself from this turmoil. From the 14th to the 19th day, carrying me out each morning didn't seem to change anything. The distance between Noah and me grew even greater. I became increasingly polite to Noah. Just when I thought everything would end as I had imagined, the unexpected happened. Chapter 9. The 20th day was a weekend. When I woke up it was already 10 o'clock. I walked out of the room but didn't see Noah. I searched everywhere but couldn't find him. I called his phone but it went unanswered. I suddenly felt a bit panicked. Could he have done something foolish? As I hesitated about whether to go out and look for him, my phone rang. Seeing his name on the screen I felt relieved, composed myself and answered the call. Sana. On the other end Noah's voice was low and emotional with a clear sobbing tone. My heart skipped a beat. What's wrong? I tried to keep my voice calm but my clenched fists betrayed my anxiety. My mom. She was in a car accident. My heart sank and I felt a shiver run through my body. I hung up the phone and rushed to the hospital. At the quiet entrance of the operating room I saw Noah sitting on a bench from afar. The bench wasn't big and his 182-meter frame was curled up there looking especially desolate. He turned his head and our eyes met. I walked up to him and asked, "How is she?" Before I could finish, Noah suddenly hugged my waist tightly. He held me and let out a faint sob. I wanted to reach out and touch his head but my hand froze in midair. After thinking for a moment I lowered my hand. I let him hold me without saying a word or making any movement. After a long time the light in the operating room went out. The doctor came out and we hurriedly surrounded him. "Doctor, how is my mom?" Noah's voice had a slight tremor and I could clearly feel his vulnerability. His chin was covered with stubble and his clothes were stained with blood. He stood there anxious and panicked, towering over the doctor yet appearing so fragile. I couldn't help but feel a bit emotional looking away and focusing on the doctor with the same earnest eyes, hoping for some good news. The doctor took off his mask looking serious. He said the surgery was successful but the brain injury is severe. It's unlikely she will wake up again. Noah took several steps back after hearing this. I steadied him with my hand on his back. "Noah, hold on." Noah's father was far away abroad and couldn't return anytime soon. Now everything depended on Noah. Suddenly I felt a bit of pity for him. He hugged me and cried. At that moment he seemed as fragile as a child. Chapter 10. Mrs. Song was transferred to the ICU for intensive care. Noah and I spent our days shuttling between work, the hospital and home. Exhausted like dogs. The whole routine of carrying me out the door every day naturally stopped. The person Mrs. Song hit was still lying in the hospital and had not yet escaped danger. The other party had run a red light on an electric scooter, and Mrs. Song was deemed partially responsible for not observing her surroundings in time. With primary and secondary responsibilities still unresolved and Mrs. Song not yet awake, the situation became very tricky. The family of the injured person came to make trouble multiple times, leaving us even more exhausted. They keep coming to make trouble and I can't avoid it. Doesn't your insurance company have any way to handle this? The primary and secondary responsibilities haven't even been determined yet. So who gave them the right to demand accountability? I stood in the hospital room watching Noah on the balcony making a phone call. He was so angry that his face turned red. In just a few days he had become very haggard. He looked much older. He hung up the phone, pushed open the door, walked in and sat directly on the sofa, his face looking grim. I poured him a glass of water and handed it to him. "Have you called your dad yet?" "Not yet." "In such a big matter, do you still plan not to face it?" A few years ago Noah's parents divorced due to incompatible personalities. Noah never reconciled with his father, and I thought he would have already informed his father. Unexpectedly he chose to avoid it once again. "I'm not avoiding it, I just haven't figured out how to say it." Noah buried his head and irritably scratched his hair. In the past I might have comforted him but now no words of comfort would come. "Then I'll call." With that I turned and reached into my bag to get my phone. "Susanna, are you still thinking about the divorce? Are you just waiting for my dad to come back, arrange everything, and then divorce me?" Noah's voice was loud, and when I turned around I saw his furious expression. I frowned, glancing at Mrs. Song lying on the hospital bed. Her breathing was steady with no reaction. If she were awake she might have erupted on the spot. I said nothing, took my bag and walked out of the hospital room, closing the door behind me. As the door shut I saw Noah smash a glass beside him. It was clear he was very angry. Did I give him the wrong impression again? Had helping these days made him think I didn't want a divorce anymore? If so, that was indeed my mistake. I dialed Noah's father. "Dad, Mom had a car accident and is in bad shape." The anxious voice on the other end of the phone instructed his assistant in fluent English, "Book me a flight immediately, the fastest one." After hanging up, the distortion in my heart completely dissipated. I felt sorry for Noah and Mrs. Song's ordeal. I would bear my share of responsibility, but the matter of divorce would not change because of this. As I walked into the hospital corridor, I saw a crowd gathered at the door of Mrs. Song's room, crying and shouting, filling the entire ward area with noise. Fearing Noah couldn't handle it alone, I hurried over. Chapter 11. The intruders caused a huge commotion, and the doctors and nurses couldn't stop them. The injured man's wife led the group, crying and making a scene. Noah stood at the hospital room door, his face pale, arms spread out to block them. Seeing Noah standing firm and silent, someone in the crowd got angry and slapped him. "What are you doing?" I pushed through the crowd, trying to push them back. In the chaos, I saw a clear slap mark on Noah's right cheek. His skin was naturally pale, making the slap mark particularly noticeable. "Who allowed you to hit him?" "I'm telling you, there are surveillance cameras in the hospital corridors. I'm calling the police now. This is intentional harm." I blocked the crowd and took out my phone to call the police. But before I could hold my phone steady, someone knocked it out of my hand. "Now my husband is dead, and you still have the nerve to call the police?" The woman in the white jacket glared at us with hatred, tears streaming down her face. Dead? My heart sank. I turned to look at Noah. Noah closed his eyes and nodded. No wonder Noah didn't dare to retaliate when he was hit. The crowd was eventually taken away by security downstairs. Noah and I stood in the corridor speechless. I watched him squat down, completely at a loss. Back at work, I took several days off. My bosses were understanding. "Susanna, the assignment to Singapore is confirmed. Once your situation here is settled, you can go directly. This opportunity is rare and invaluable for you. Don't miss it." My boss is a strong woman who took 15 years to become a partner in the company. She has always been very supportive and encouraging of me. She said that for a woman, her career is the most important thing. I took her words to heart. I nodded with a smile. "Don't worry, I'll seize this opportunity." She breathed a sigh of relief and smiled at me. I knew she feared I might backtrack because of Noah's situation. She worried I'd repeat what I did a few years ago when I gave up a big show to marry Noah. Noah and I had just decided to get engaged when the company had a collaborative design exhibition with C Brand. The boss wanted me to lead the ready-to-wear design, but the date clashed with my engagement. She suggested changing the engagement date, but after discussing with Noah, we refused. The designer who took over the ready-to-wear project later managed the entire U.S. market, becoming a partner in the company. The boss has always regretted that decision, but I have no regrets. Given my mindset back then, I would have made the same choice no matter how many times I relived it. But now I wouldn't make that choice. Some people love you, but only love you, not the outlet of your soul. That's Noah. Chapter 12. Since getting married, we had countless discussions about our career plans. Whenever he talked about what achievements he wanted to make, I always listened attentively and gave my sincere opinions. I expressed my full support for him. I even stayed up all night designing the logo and interactive interface for his app when he needed me. I once thought we were the strongest support for each other in our careers and lives. But gradually I realized that it was only me. Later I discovered that Noah didn't care about what I said. It seemed like only his body was in front of me while his soul had wandered off somewhere else. I won an award for my design this week. Do you know what inspired it? Was it me? Of course not, I said, carrying a plate of fruit to him. I've told you before, it was that couple we met in college. The girl had a red mark on her face, but the boy loved her deeply. How could you forget? We talked about it many times. My voice rose as his eyes finally left the TV, and he turned to hug me. He rested his chin on my shoulder, whining, "Oh, I'm getting old and forgetful. I promise I won't forget next time," I huffed, but in my heart I had already forgiven him. In hindsight, I should have realized how dismissive Noah's words were. But a woman deeply in love can be surprisingly magnanimous. Using my saintly heart, I tolerated his repeated neglect and hurt. I even comforted myself when he didn't offer any words of solace. When did I finally see Noah's true nature? It was when he cleaned the study and casually put my trophies and certificates in a box, forgetting to put them back. He only forgot mine. His certificates, awards, and trophies were carefully arranged after cleaning the cabinet. He didn't do it on purpose, but he subconsciously overlooked his wife's achievements. I would rather he had simply forgotten. I sarcastically remarked, "What are you planning to split our belongings?" He was playing a game with his teammates, and without turning around laughed, "The cabinet is too small. It's too cramped to keep everything together." Why don't you put yours in the living room? At that moment I felt a chill. How could he say something so hurtful so naturally? I talked to him about it multiple times about how he didn't care about my career or anything in my life. But each time he would start whining, apologizing, and making promises. It felt like punching a pillow, a sense of powerlessness gradually filling my chest. One day by chance I saw his chat interface on his phone. My voice message, which lasted a few seconds, was marked as unread. And his generic replies with emojis and canned responses had always fooled me. Scrolling through his phone I realized he had been doing this for a long time. Turns out I was the only clown all along. In marriage it's not the quarrels or disagreements that are most frightening. It's when one party wants to resolve and communicate, but the other never connects. Your words are always muted. Or it's like playing the lute to a cow. That moment truly chilled my heart. In the days that followed I gradually reduced our heart-to-heart talks. Noah continued on his way, never noticing. But from that time on I began preparing myself mentally, waiting for the day I could truly let go. I thought it would take a long time, but it seemed to happen on a very calm afternoon. I sat by the lake, the sun was glaring and the park was quiet. That day I made up my mind to divorce Noah. I brought it up on our 5th wedding anniversary. Chapter 13. Noah's father returned and took over everything, contacting the insurance company, the police, and the lawyers. The moment he arrived, Noah visibly relaxed as the burden he had been carrying was once again lifted. Since the other party had run a red light and was driving under the influence, the traffic police determined we were only partially responsible. However, the victim's family kept causing trouble, and Noah's father decided to settle with them for peace of mind, paying nearly $400,000 including medical expenses. The matter was finally settled. That day Noah's father invited Noah and me to dinner. I got ready early and waited at the door. Noah was squatting tying his shoelaces and couldn't stand up straight for a long time. I knew Noah didn't want to go. I couldn't help but roll my eyes and urge him impatiently, "Noah, hurry up." How did I ever find his little evasions and delays cute? I must have been out of my mind, blinded by love. Before entering the restaurant, Noah tugged at my sleeve. "Sana, please don't tell my dad about the divorce, okay? He has the right to know." I walked into the restaurant without looking back. During the meal, Noah's father talked about the recent events and his plans. If I remember correctly, Sana mentioned during the new year that she would be getting promoted in the next 2 years. "Don't worry, I'll return to take care of Noah's mother. It won't affect either of your careers. You're getting promoted in the next 2 years." Noah looked up in surprise from the table. Noah's father paused while serving me food. Seeing this, I quickly held out my bowl. "Thank you, Dad. You see, some people remember things and some forget." Noah, who should have been the one to remember these things about me, was the most inattentive. But it's okay, I no longer have any expectations of him. No expectations, no hurt. I understand this principle well. "Dad, I have something to tell you." As soon as I said this, Noah looked up at me, his eyes filled with pleading and a hint of anger. "Dad, Noah and I are getting a divorce." As soon as the words left my mouth, Noah stood up abruptly, the chair legs scraping the tiles with a sharp noise. I instinctively frowned. "Susanna, what the hell is wrong with you? I've tried so hard to keep you. What more do you want from me?" Noah roared angrily at me. Since I had brought up the divorce, this was the first time he had lost control. Perhaps it had been building up for a long time. "I'll step out, you two talk." Noah's father had always been considerate. He got up and left the private room. "No, I wasn't joking when I asked for a divorce. I never gave you any hope. From the beginning until now, I've never changed my mind about wanting a divorce." I took a deep breath, trying to explain clearly. "Then why did you agree to that plan? Would you have given up if I hadn't?" "You wouldn't, Noah. You don't understand me, nor do you understand yourself. You think you've done enough in this marriage. You think I'm just whining, and you even think I'm playing hard to get. How could I not understand you?" Noah moved past the table and sat next to me, holding my hand. "Sana, we've been together for 13 years. 13 years, how could I not understand you? Sana, tell me what I did wrong, and I'll change, okay?" Looking at his red eyes, my nose tingled with a slight sourness. I withdrew my hand. "Noah, do you know I won first prize in the design competition last year? Do you know what my drawings were at the beginning of the year? Did you ever truly see or listen to the joy I shared with you?" Noah looked bewildered by my question, standing there, as if he had fallen into an ice cave. "Noah, this is as far as we go." Chapter 14. As I walked out of the private room, I heard Noah's faint sobbing behind me. He seemed to be holding back his tears. That sound was eerily similar to the countless nights I spent tossing and turning, quietly sobbing into my pillow. Noah's father leaned against the door frame. Seeing me come out, he stood up straight. He smiled apologetically, a bit awkwardly. "Dad, I'm leaving." Noah's father nodded. A few steps away I heard him call out to me, "Sana, once you leave, don't look back." I waved my hand behind me without turning around. Once the divorce cooling-off period ended, Noah and I got our divorce certificate. The moment I walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, I felt an unprecedented sense of relief. Looking at Noah, I even found him somewhat likable again. Noah wasn't as disheveled as I had imagined. He was still handsome and tall, but there were a few red marks on his chin. "Get a new razor. Your salary is high enough, you should buy a better one." I teased him with a smile. He touched his stubble and smiled back. "Where are you going? Let me give you a ride." "No need. I have a flight to Singapore this afternoon." "This is really goodbye, Noah." I looked at the taxi I had called, its hazard lights flashing. I took a few steps down the stairs, turned back and waved. I thought this would be the last time I saw Noah. But in the afternoon I saw him again at the airport. He was holding a bouquet of flowers, wearing that gray sweatshirt, standing in the bustling crowd, smiling and waving at me. For a moment I was stunned. My feet seemed rooted to the ground. Watching him run towards me, I felt like it was all a dream, a 13-year dream. Would we still be a loving couple if I woke up? "I wanted to see you off." Noah thrust the flowers into my arms. It was a bouquet of white roses, my favorite. I used to joke that I was Noah's eternal white rose, never wilting. But after we got married, Noah never gave me flowers again. "This seems to be the first time you've given me flowers since we got married." I stood there, not reaching out. Perhaps Noah hadn't expected this reaction either. He stood there stammering for a long time. "Noah, we both need to move forward." To many people, Noah is a good person. I think so too. After all, we truly loved each other. But having seen how deeply he loved me, how could I accept it? When he didn't love me anymore? For many men, the wife they marry is like a labeled possession left in a corner to gather dust. But we are human beings. We need care, and relationships need maintenance. Their unexpressed love is the nourishment of our lives. Noah and I were never meant to be together. What I wanted he couldn't give. What he gave I already had. For instance, the salary he handed over each month was something I didn't need. It's hard to hold flowers when you're carrying luggage. I held out my hand, showing that I couldn't take them. Then I hugged him, patting his back lightly. "Take care, Noah." I walked away, confidently certain that the sight of my retreating figure would be unforgettable for Noah. I knew that a part of my heart felt empty. I also knew that no one else would ever fill that void. But so what? My future was bright. Why waste my life on a fleeting moment of sorrow?